guys, welcome to DIY with Megan. In today's video, we're going to teach you how to paint a piece of furniture. For this part of the project, you're going to need paint, a good quality paintbrush, a sanding block, a degreaser cleaner, and a clean cloth. We use chalk paint by Dixie Paint Company. It's a great product. They have a great price point and have a lot of quality products. So we're going to start with our piece by removing all the hardware on it. Put that in a safe place. You don't want to lose any of your screws or any pieces when you go to put it back on later. The next thing you're going to do is use your degreaser and you're going to spray down your piece of furniture. Use that clean cloth to wipe off any dust, grease, things that have collected on it over the years. You want to get rid of all that old gross stuff so that your paint has something good to bond to. So with the chalk paint, they don't suggest that you sand, but I will preface this by saying that if you have a project that is really shiny, it's always a great idea to hit it with a sander first. That'll ensure when you're polishing it that your paint won't chip off. One cool thing about this desk is that the legs on it are actually removable. You don't have to do this, but when I have parts that are removable on a piece of furniture, I always take those off, paint it separately. Once it's dry, I put them back on. Another important thing to think about is when you're painting drawers. The drawers on this piece have a pretty distinct edge, so that makes it easier for this particular paint job. But sometimes when you're painting things, the drawers are more square. It may even have dovetails. You can cut in those dovetails, and we may do a video on how to do that later. But something important to remember is not to paint and get sloppy paint lines on the sides of the drawers if you can help from it. An important thing to think about is when you're painting something, you don't want it to look like you just slapped some paint on it. I always like for my finishes to look professional. So by flipping the piece of furniture over, we make sure that we get under all the cracks and crevices. You haven't missed any spots. So when you start painting, one thing that I like to tell people is that you don't have to put the whole bristles of your brush down in your paint. You can just put the ends in it, and that will be plenty of paint to do what you need to do. Once you've used all that paint on your paintbrush, you can dip it again, but if you get too much on there, then you start worrying about runs and stuff on your piece of furniture. I talk about a quality paint job and I talk about a professional finish. One thing that I find super important is on the insides of drawers and along those trim pieces that we paint those, because when you slide out a drawer, you see that inside part, and the last thing that you want to see is brush strokes. One important thing to think about when you're painting is don't try to cover everything with the first coat. If you start trying to cover everything in that first coat, you're going to overwork your paint and then it's going to start gumming on you. You don't want that. Put your paint on, get the runs out of it, let it dry. You can always put more paint on it. Now that we've put on our first coat of paint, there are some areas that do need more paint, but that's okay. Like I said, we can go back and do more. So we'll go back with a second coat of paint, and then after that's dried, then we'll go on to distressing. When you're finished painting, it is important for the integrity of your paintbrush for you to immediately take it and wash it really well with soap and water. Thanks for watching DIY with Megan. On our next episode, we'll teach you how to distress and poly a piece of furniture. If you've enjoyed this video, like, share, and comment if you have questions.